All right, the depth is good.
Every wicked tuna captain knows the ocean can take everything from you in a single day. But for Dave Marciano, the hardest battles weren't always fought at sea. Behind years of television success were personal setbacks, legal troubles, major career changes, and a final chapter few fans expected. So, what really happened to the captain of hard merchandise? And why did his life take so many unexpected turns along the way? Join us as we uncover what happened to Dave Marciano, the kid who should have been selling insurance. One of the most interesting facts about Dave Marciano is that he had no business being a fisherman because his path was already laid out for him, and it included working in an office. His father worked in insurance. His sisters worked in insurance. The whole family blueprint was basically, go to school, get a stable job, do not get on a boat, and chase giant fish for a living. Dave clocked that blueprint very early and decided it was not for him. His mom took him fishing at local ponds when he was small. On one of those visits, he asked her to buy him what he called a fishing stick. She did, and he never put it down after then. By the time he was 11, he was already hooked. And not in a cute hobby kind of way, but in a, I am going to organize my entire existence around this kind of way. While his family was presumably filing forms and processing claims in Gloucester, Massachusetts, young Dave was figuring out how to get himself onto boats. He started working party boats as a teenager through the Yankee fleet in Gloucester. He was the self-described black sheep of the family, the one who skipped college and committed full-time to commercial fishing instead. At some point, he even spent time in Key West before coming back north to Massachusetts, where the bluefin tuna fishery was calling him specifically. The moment that locked everything in happened when he was around 20 years old. He caught his first bluefin tuna aboard a boat called the Janie B, captained by a man named William G. Brown. Back then, affordable rod and reel setups were not a thing for working fishermen, so Dave used handlines to haul tuna. Old school, manual, no shortcuts. That first bluefin was it for him. He never looked back at the insurance business his family was running. He worked his way through various boats, earned his captain's license, saved up, and eventually bought his own vessel. He named it the Angelica Joseph. He became a captain, exactly what he said he was going to do. But little did he know what was in store for him. And whatever was in store started to unfold when Angelica Joseph sank. The first time his boat went underwater. So this is the part of the Dave Marciano story that the show mentioned but never fully dwelled on. And it is genuinely one of the more dramatic things that happened to him before Wicked Tuna ever existed. The Angelica Joseph was a wooden lobster boat that sank after losing a plank. They had notified the Coast Guard they were going down, but luckily, there was another fisherman in close proximity who pulled them out of the water. That fisherman saved their lives. After losing the Angelica Joseph, Dave replaced it with a 38-foot Daniels Head vessel with a solid fiberglass hull. He called it the Hard Merchandise. The name had two meanings. First, it was a description of the product he was selling. Fresh, firm fish, the hard merchandise. Second, it was a Star Wars reference. Dave and his daughter Angelica were deep into Star Wars books and movies, and hard merchandise was a ship from the expanded universe. A working bluefin tuna fishing boat in Gloucester, Massachusetts, named after a Star Wars vessel. The hard merchandise became his identity on the water long before National Geographic knew he existed. And when the network did come looking, it was not actually Dave they came for first. When National Geographic was putting together Wicked Tuna, which premiered on April 1st, 2012, Dave Marciano was not the first captain they contacted. He was not at the top of anybody's list at the start. The show was built around the world of bluefin tuna fishing in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and the network was going through the community, figuring out who had the right mix of personality, skill, and screen presence to carry a reality series. Dave ended up in the mix and immediately connected with audiences in a way that nobody had necessarily anticipated. The gravelly Massachusetts accent, the shaved head, the goatee, the completely no-nonsense attitude about everything from fishing strategy to other captains to money. He was not performing anything for the cameras. He was just being himself at full volume, which is exactly what reality television needs and almost never actually gets. He has described himself throughout multiple interviews as just a fisherman, a commercial fisherman who happened to be on television. The show followed him as he competed against the other captains, but Dave's stated position was always that he did not take the competition aspect particularly seriously. His framing was that real commercial fishermen see fishing as being successful together, not against each other. He would say this while simultaneously being extremely competitive and absolutely refusing to share information about where the fish were. The show worked because it had genuine stakes. These captains were not fishing for television drama. They were fishing because the money from a single bluefin tuna could run anywhere from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands depending on the fish's size and quality. And that money was how they paid their crews, maintained their boats, and supported their families. Dave was explicit about this at every turn. If he did not catch tuna, he could not pay his bills. There was no safety net. And then, right in the middle of one of the show's early seasons, his boat sank again. The second time, his boat went underwater. The hard merchandise sank in December 2012 after Wicked Tuna had finished filming for the season. Dave called it a nightmare from his perspective, listing everything that needed to happen. Repowering the boat, new engine, ripping out all the wiring, replacing all the electronics. What made this moment genuinely difficult to process, even from the outside, was what happened the same weekend the hard merchandise went down. Another boat called the Foxy Lady too sank. All hands were lost. The crew was never found. Dave said that his own problems were minimal in the big picture. Yeah, he had a lot of work ahead of him. But he would get through it. His problems were minimal. He put it in the simplest possible terms. Life is short and have fun. The competition should not matter. He had a boat to rebuild and a living to make, so he went back to work on other boats while the hard merchandise was being brought back to life. But somewhere in the middle of that run, things started getting complicated off the water too. Because in January 2015, Dave Marciano was arrested. On January 20th, 2015, Dave Marciano was arrested for assaulting a woman at a hotel clerk in Morehead City, North Carolina. According to police, he pulled the woman's ponytail. The reported context was that he did it to flirt with her. Dave himself never commented publicly about the arrest. His wife Nancy, however, did. She said he could never do such a thing. She was direct about it and left no ambiguity about where she stood. Nancy Marciano is not a background character in this story. She has been central to everything Dave built. They had been together for over 30 years when Dave posted on Twitter in July 2023 that it was their anniversary. Nancy holds a Massachusetts state record for the largest striped bass caught by a woman. She grew up around fishing because all the men in her family fished. She manages the business side of the operation while Dave is on the water. The combination of a fisherman who understands the sea and a partner who understands the business is the structural reason Angelica Fisheries Incorporated, which Dave runs out of Beverly, Massachusetts, has been able to sustain itself across this many years. They have 3 children together: Angelica, Joseph, and Eva Rose. All three have fished with Dave over the years, and one of them became a central part of the Wicked Tuna story, in a way that nobody watching the early seasons could have predicted. So what happened when Dave handed the boat to his son Joe? And what did that chapter reveal about what the show had actually become? The Falcon years. One of the most underrated storylines in Wicked Tuna's entire run was watching Joe Marciano come up on the water alongside his father and eventually take over the wheel of the hard merchandise. Dave has told the story of the biggest fish he and Joe ever caught together, when Joe was still young enough that he had to flip over a fish tote and stand on it to reach the reel. They had been out for hours, chumming through something like 150 pounds of bait, not getting anything to bite. Joe put on a little pollock. He said, "That's gonna get them." The rod bent. The fish on the other end was 1,200 pounds and brought in $10,000. Dave described it as something the two of them would always have as a memory together. By season 8, Dave handed off the hard merchandise to his son Joe, while he himself captained a different vessel called the Falcon for 2 seasons. The Falcon was a different kind of boat from the hard merchandise, and the 2 seasons Dave ran her were not his best performing ones on the show. By season 10, Dave was back on the hard merchandise, which he and Joe and his nephew Jay Muensner had spent the winter upgrading significantly. New cabin, new deck, new fuel tanks, a 500 horsepower engine. In the season 10 premiere, he explained the switch directly, telling viewers that the last few seasons had been tough on the Falcon and that he thought the other captains believed he had lost his mojo. He said he was going back to the hard merch to break the bad luck streak. The first day back on the hard merchandise, he pulled in a 79-inch, 200-pound bluefin that netted $2,000. He said he was not getting rid of the Falcon. He just wanted to make the hard merchandise faster and more comfortable. As he put it with the particular Dave Marciano economy of words, "It's a great boat." But it's no secret the past few seasons weren't spectacular. The boat swap and return is also a useful lens for understanding how Dave approaches everything. He is not precious about the mythology. He does not cling to things for sentimental reasons when the practical reality is pointing in a different direction. He tried the Falcon. The numbers were not there. He upgraded the boat that had always worked for him and went back to it. That is a fisherman's logic applied to a television decision, and it worked. Now here is where we need to zoom out for a second, because all of this was happening inside a show that ran for 13 seasons. So how does a fishing competition show that has been going since 2012 stay relevant? And what was Dave Marciano's relationship with the whole enterprise actually like by the end? The show itself, and what Dave said when it was done. Wicked Tuna was never really about fishing in the way that, say, a nature documentary is about nature. It was about economic survival, dressed up as sporting competition. The drama worked because the stakes were actual. Every bad season had real-world consequences that extended beyond the television scoreboard. Dave was explicit about this in interviews throughout the show's run. Fishing was his sole source of income, the actual source of money that paid for everything in his life. If he did not catch tuna, he could not support his family. The show captured this reality more honestly than most reality television manages to capture anything, partly because Dave and the other captains did not know how to pretend otherwise. He earned between $7,000 and $20,000 per episode at various points during the show's run, with his yearly boat operation costs estimated at around $70,000. The television money helped, but it did not replace the fishing income. It supplemented it. The whole operation, the boat, the crew, the gear, the fuel, the insurance, all of it still had to be sustained by actually catching fish. Dave described his perspective on the competition in a National Fisherman interview as genuinely different from some of the other captains. He said he looked at it differently from someone like Dave Carraro, whose passion for tuna fishing was more about the love of it. For Dave Marciano, tuna fishing was just another means of making a check. That honesty was refreshing in a format where everyone else was usually performing passion for the camera. He also said clearly that he had clashed heads at one time or another with each person out there. "That's fishing," he said, "on or off the show. No secrets, no dramatized feuds, just the honest reality of competitive people trying to catch the same fish in the same water." When Wicked Tuna ended its original run in 2024 after 13 seasons, Dave said everything he needed to say about the experience in a single line on a podcast. He said if his 15 minutes of fame lasted 13 years, he had nothing to complain about. What he simply said was an accurate observation that his moment had lasted longer than most, and that he was grateful for it. Then, presumably, he went back to fishing, because that is what Dave Marciano does. What does Dave's life look like now after the show ended? Angelica Fisheries and the charters. Here is what people miss when they think of Dave Marciano as a television personality who happened to also fish. While the television was always the side hustle, the fish were always the main event. Dave owns 2 fishing vessels, the Hard Merchandise and the Falcon. He runs Angelica Fisheries, Inc., a company based in Beverly, Massachusetts, that operates year-round rather than just during the bluefin tuna season. The company is a commercial fishing operation that catches bluefin tuna, cod, and other valuable fish sold to markets, restaurants, and seafood distributors. This is not a celebrity fishing brand. This is a working commercial fishing company that existed before the show and continues operating after it. In addition to the commercial operation, Dave provides chartered fishing trips off the coast of Massachusetts. If you want to go out on the water with the man from Wicked Tuna and fish for bluefin, you can actually do that. His contact for television and endorsements is listed on his Twitter profile. His boat operation runs through Angelica Fisheries. The 2 sides of the business coexist without pretending the other does not exist. His most recent public Twitter post, as of early 2025, was tagged with the phrase "Wicked Bounce Back," referencing Wicked Tuna and suggesting that the franchise, in some form, was not completely finished. What that means in terms of future seasons, spin-offs, or appearances has not been officially confirmed. But the fact that Dave is still posting and still engaging with the audience that found him through National Geographic suggests he has not closed that door. He has served as MC for the annual Healing on the Fly Boston Gala, benefiting Project Healing Waters Fly Fishing, a nonprofit that provides fly fishing programs for disabled veterans across the United States. His involvement in veteran support programs is something that does not get much coverage in the celebrity gossip ecosystem around the show, but it reflects the same values he has expressed consistently throughout his public life. Show up, do the work, be useful to the people around you. His estimated net worth as of 2025 sits at approximately $3 million, which is the accumulated result of 13 years of television income combined with the commercial fishing operation that has been running since long before National Geographic arrived in Gloucester with cameras. He is not a rich man by celebrity standards, but he is a genuinely successful one by the standards of the world he actually lives in, which is the world of working commercial fishermen in Massachusetts. Do you think Dave Marciano was one of the most authentic captains on Wicked Tuna? And would you like to see him return if the series ever comes back? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.